back to another video. And today I basically realised that I actually do need to change my diet, but not in a way that you think. So this week I was actually going to film me doing some workouts, but work got in the way, trying to start this new business, and I just went shopping then, and someone suggested, why don't I just go through my diet for the time being and what we've just bought. And then it just made me realise that I actually do need to change my diet in terms of my goals and how I'm training. So today, for example, it's Saturday. I think it's just gone 8 o'clock in the evening. And in terms of what I've eaten today, I've just had a trout poke bowl all day whilst doing a workout early on this morning, which was fasted. And that's the biggest reason why I need to change my diet, and where I need to change it is to do the opposite to where most people have their issues, in terms of I need to probably eat more than what I'm doing as opposed to eating less in a lot of people's cases. Now, we just went to Costco, and if you looked at our food haul or what we buy, it's probably boring to a lot of people. I mean, we've just got some sourdough baguettes, we've got some salmon, well, we got salmon, chicken, we've got fruit, veg, mushrooms, olive oil, which I've just learned that we've got to get a certain type, single origin cold pressed, because it keeps a lot of the properties. I'm no expert in olive oil, but I know the benefits of it. And when I eat a lot of these foods, in terms of energy content, it's pretty low. In terms of protein content, apart from the meats, obviously, they're low. And I think that's where I've changed a lot of my eating structure and diet from years ago, where I'd focus on hitting a gram per pound of body weight. So I'd be aiming for, give or take, 200 grams a day, and it would completely crush me. I would be, if I was on holiday or I was out and I hadn't got to my target, for example, I'd be out there trying to make sure I got to that target. And then in October 23, actually, I stopped having protein supplements just to see, did that affect my strength, muscle building ability to a great extent. And to be honest, it hasn't. So I sit around 77, 78. So for some people who do bodybuilding, weight training exercises, it's quite low. But I just try and emphasize that we don't need to spend all this money, and you just need to shift what you're actually eating. So in terms of this diet today, people say eating healthy is quite expensive. I'm not gonna lie, this one today, we got some sparkling water and normal water, other than like the general Costco brand, because they didn't have any in. And I think all of this here come to just shy of £90. So in terms of the chicken, for example, we've got 2.2 kilos. I mean, between two of us, that might last us 3-4 days. And then all the fruit and veg, I mean, because that's the only thing I really have, that'll be gone in a few days. So you're looking at a food bill every week of £200-250 on average between the two of us, at least. So I can see why people say it's expensive, but then if you buy stuff in bulk, like all this olive oil, it's not that bad in the long term. Now, to be honest, there's actually not much more I can go through in terms of what I've bought. It was just something that I had to start this video because I've committed to doing a weekly vlog. So somehow tomorrow morning, I'm planning on doing a leg workout, a bit of mobility, trying to record that, edit it, and get it out before the end of the day on Sunday, because if I stop doing all these things now, then I'm not going to carry on. But that's the whole point, is that I just wanted to get across what I eat and that I need to eat more. And I think a lot of people out there underestimate the type of training you're doing. So I'm doing a lot more VO2 max training, and then I'll do that fasted and maybe not eat for the day. I mean, today I actually done my first ever boxing sort of workout. Went to a coach in Wrexham, and I mean, completely different type of training, all cardiovascular. And especially in today's heat, I think it's like 33 degrees back in the UK. So all them things coupled together, not the best. But yeah, thought I'd open it, and then tomorrow I'll record them things, and then genuinely for the next vlog, I'm going to take you through a week of how I'm going to do my workout split for that week, what numbers I'm hitting, and then where that leads me onto the next steps. Now, as promised, I'm going to go and do a workout this morning. Well, it's actually this afternoon. I will have to do a voiceover because the neighbours have decided to have a depressive episode by listening to the soundtrack from A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga. So I'll do a voiceover on what I'm doing, but the idea is I'm going to do some mobility, and and I'm doing it outside because the temperature's just skyrocketed, so I'm not doing it in the gym. And I'm going to do a leg workout, but it's going to be more about how many reps I'm going to do as opposed to the weight, and it's just mainly to stay active despite it being soaring temperature. So I'll record it, do a voiceover, and hopefully they stop playing the depressive music next door so I can actually get into the mood. But I'll see you in a bit. So the music actually did improve. It went to some 90s dance, but I started the workout with some mobility, and I've been trying to focus mainly on hips and hamstrings. So eventually I come into a hip stretch. Now in this one here, I've placed the right foot forward, meaning that it's opening up the left hip. And the idea is the more, when you breathe out, you can then go further into the stretch. And the whole point of mobility is that it shouldn't feel painful. It should feel uncomfortable at some times, and that's the idea, is to try and improve your range of mobility and movements. But I do this on both sides for normally 8 to 10 seconds on each. I then moved into hamstrings, where I'd say that's probably my worst part, but they actually look okay here. So I think it might have been the weather helping me. But the idea is just try and stretch out, lock the knee, get a full stretch on the full hamstring. And then I moved back into hip mobility. Now, I've done 3 rotations or 3 movements on both sides, but I think on mine here, you can see the way my hips completely misalign when I come back through the kick through. So the idea, I think they're meant to be level, or at least parallel to the ground. But again, everything comes with more and more practice. I then finished off the hips with some, I actually don't know the professional name for this, but you swoop it from give or take 3 o'clock, in this case on the right side, and go all the way past. I go to about 7 o'clock on this, and the idea is to keep a neutral spine, and this will completely stretch the hips on that side. Then done some form of child's pose, and it's actually harder commentating on a video than what you think. But then I went into just sitting back. Oh yeah, so basically my ankle mobility again, as the general theme, is pretty poor, but now I can actually sit back on my ankles, which helps me squat deeper without the butt wink. And then I go into standing hamstring stretches, again full lockout with the knees to make sure all the tension goes onto the hamstrings, and then I come off it by bending them every so often. And again, 5 to 8 seconds, maybe more if I feel more comfortable on a certain point. And then I finished up with just some balancing exercises with trying to improve the hip mobility and strength again. Now going into the workout, like I said, I just went for reps, mainly just to do a workout because the temperature today I think was in the 30s, and in England with no aircon, you've got no chance. So I started off with Bulgarian split squats. Now the weight, I put the reps on the screen at the moment, so it was basically to do 50 reps in as little sets as I can. So I ended up doing 20, 20 and 10 on each side. The weight I was using was 15 kilos because that's the heaviest I've got in dumbbells, but it was just trying to focus on form more than anything. I then went into hip thrusts, which I only used 40 kilos for that, so not a really big weight. Same principle again, 50 reps. I ended up doing 27, then 23. But the reason what made this one so difficult was that I didn't have any shoes on and it was slipping on the grass because it's artificial. So every few reps I was readjusting. So given the heat and the fact that my legs were already a bit sore after not having that much rest, just made it a bit more difficult. We then went into the generic barbell back squat. So 50 reps. The intention was never to do it in one set. I ended up the aim was to do 2 25s, but then once I got to 25, I thought I'll just keep going until there's something in me telling me to stop. So I ended up doing the full 50, which I've cut out obviously to make it a bit shorter here, but I actually did do them all in one go, and at the end of it, they were a bit sore, my legs, more than what I anticipated. Then I went into bring Sally ups. So I used this in press ups and all these other different workouts. The song's 3 minutes 24, and like it says, so you'll go through motions of how you want to determine it basically. So every time it says bring Sally up, went up in the squat, every time it was down I had to hold it in that position, and you've got to go on the timings within the song. And believe me, when you actually don't know how long's left, it can be more challenging than what you actually think. I then finished on a full set of 90 reps. So you do 30 reps in half squats from the bottom to halfway. I then went into 30 full squats, and then after that I went into 30 half squats, but from the top to the middle. I just do body weight, and sometimes depending on how much work I've done prior, I might put 20 kilos on the bar. Well, I mean, I might just use the bar, I won't put 20 kilos on top because that'd be insane, but that's the whole point. At the end of this, if you give it a try, I mean, I will do a few rounds sometimes, but for today with the heat, I just called it a day after that. So that's the workout finished. I would have put up how many reps, time and etc throughout the voiceover, but the idea is next week I'm going to vlog what I'm actually doing training wise. Now the plan is to cycle 3 times next week, doing spins Monday, Wednesday and Friday. 2 of them being a long ride, the other one being a VO2 max ride, so high intensity intervals. And then Tuesday I've got a run club in the morning, but ideally Tuesday evening, Thursday evening and Saturday I'd like to be doing some strength training anyway, trying to keep up as much walking as I can. That's the plan. I've been keeping to it pretty well, but the idea is I need to vlog it next week, so it hopefully gives a greater insight to whoever's watching and wants to interpret it and input it into their own lives. So I will see you next week.